It was supposed to be a night of celebration. Two best friends, a quiet stretch of tropical beach, a late-night swim beneath a sky full of stars. But within minutes, one of them would vanish without a trace. No warning, no struggle on the sand, just a scream and the sound of something massive breaking the surface. Search teams would find no body, only signs of a predator waiting just beneath the calm. What happened to Cindy Waldron that night in Far North Queensland? And could anyone have saved her from what was lurking in the dark? Welcome to our channel where we reveal hidden truths. Before moving further, go ahead, press subscribe button and turn on notifications for more updates. Cindy Waldron was the kind of person who could make a stranger feel like an old friend. Born in New Zealand, she grew up with a camera in her hand, chasing light, framing moments, and freezing time in a way that made even the ordinary feel magical. Her friends say she had restless feet, a love for travel, wild landscapes, and places untouched by concrete and noise. She wasn't reckless, but she wasn't afraid to step off the map either. And then there was Leanne Mitchell, a survivor in every sense of the word. Not long before that fateful trip, Leanne had fought and won a brutal battle with cancer. When the treatments ended, when the doctors finally said the word remission, she didn't want just to survive. She wanted to live. Together, Cindy and Leanne shared years of friendship. They were sisters not by blood, but by choice, bound together by laughter, road trips, and the quiet understanding that comes when life has tested you both. So when Cindy suggested an adventure to celebrate Leanne's recovery, there was no hesitation. They'd head north, far north, to a place where rainforest meets reef. A place where the world still feels wild. Their journey began on the winding coastal road out of Cairns. To the left, the coral sea shimmered under the sun. To the right, the Daintree rainforest rose in tangled green walls, so ancient it had existed long before the first humans set foot on Australia's shores. It was beautiful, almost too beautiful. The kind of place where your breath catches in your throat and you forget, even for a moment, that beauty in the wild often hides something darker. The road led them to a quiet stretch of paradise called Thornton Beach. White sand, turquoise water, jungle at your back. It was the kind of scene you'd find in a travel magazine. And yet, beneath the surface of that postcard-perfect sea was a predator older than the rainforest itself. A creature so well adapted to killing that it hadn't changed in millions of years. But on that day, Cindy and Leanne weren't thinking about predators. They were thinking about freedom, about life. And the ocean, warm and inviting under a tropical moon, seemed to call their names. Thornton Beach. On the surface, it's a dreamscape, a ribbon of pale sand curling along the edge of the coral sea. Behind it, the Daintree rainforest presses close, its canopy dripping with emerald leaves and tangled vines older than recorded history. The air hums with cicadas and the slow pulse of the tropics. For Cindy and Leanne, it felt like they had stumbled into a hidden world, a place where the chaos of city life couldn't reach. The tide rolled in lazy arcs across the shore. The sky stretched endless above them. It was easy, dangerously easy, to believe they had found paradise. But the Daintree is not just beautiful, it is ancient. And in ancient places, the rules belong to the wild. Beneath the silken surface of Thornton's waters lies a creature that time itself has barely touched, the saltwater crocodile. Locals call them salties. But don't let the nickname fool you. They are not pets, not curiosities, not the docile creatures of a zoo enclosure. These are apex predators, patient, intelligent, and armed with a strike so fast you might never see it coming. They've been perfecting the art of ambush for over 200 million years. Their bodies are armor-plated, their jaws can snap bone with the force of a speeding car, and they can launch themselves from the water with terrifying precision. Unlike a shark, they don't circle, they don't test bite. They wait silent, motionless, blending so perfectly with their surroundings that you could stand waist-deep beside one and never know it, until it's too late. Here in far north Queensland, these predators are everywhere the water touches. From the mouths of rivers to hidden mangrove channels, even along open stretches of beach. The locals know it. They read the signs. They stay away from the water, especially after dark. The tourists? Not always. And that's where paradise becomes dangerous. Bright yellow warning boards stand like sentinels at the edge of Thornton Beach. They are blunt and unambiguous. Crocodile warning. Do not swim. But signs don't shimmer like the sea. They don't whisper like the warm evening tide. For Cindy and Leanne, the danger was invisible, hidden beneath a surface that looked calm, safe, and inviting. They couldn't see the eyes watching from just beyond the moonlight. If they had known, they never would have stepped into the water. The night began like so many tropical nights do, heavy with warmth, the air thick with the scent of salt and rainforest flowers. By late evening, Cindy and Leanne had shared dinner at a small cafe near the beach. The kind of place where time slows down, where the clink of cutlery and soft hum of conversation seem to belong to another world. They laughed easily, the weight of the past few years lifting with each shared memory. When they stepped outside, the night felt alive. The stars had begun to scatter themselves across the black sky. The moon floated high and bright, laying a silver path across the sea. The day had been hot. The night still clung to its heat. And then, perhaps without thinking too much about it, the idea came. A swim. Not far. Not deep. Just enough to feel the water close over their skin, to float in the quiet of the tropics. The beach was empty, the tide low, the waves only a gentle hush against the shore. It looked harmless, the kind of night where the world felt safe. They slipped off their shoes, walked barefoot over cool sand, and stepped into the sea. At first, everything was perfect. The water was warm, wrapping them in a soft embrace. They waded out slowly, no rush, stopping when it reached their waists. They stood there, side by side, talking about the future, about healing, about where they might go next. And then, something shifted. It was subtle, a disturbance in the water, a sudden heaviness in the air. Leanne heard it before she saw it. A splash, not large, but sharp. She turned towards Cindy, and that's when she heard her scream. Her voice was high, panicked, almost unrecognizable. A croc's got me. In the pale light, Leanne saw her friend thrashing, half above water, half already pulled under. She lunged forward, arms outstretched, desperate to grab her. For a heartbeat, their hands touched. And then Cindy was yanked backward with a force so violent, it tore her from Leanne's grasp. The water closed around her, erasing her from sight. It happened in seconds. One moment, they were talking about life. The next, Cindy was gone. Leanne stumbled toward the shore, screaming into the darkness. Alone now, shaking, soaked to the skin, she pounded on nearby doors, begging for help. At 10:28 p.m., the call to emergency services went out. But by then, the sea had already gone still again. The first searchers arrived within the hour. Police, wildlife officers, locals who knew the coastline better than any map. Flashlights swept across the sand, their beams slicing through the dark. From the tree line came the rustle of night creatures, startled by the sudden invasion of light and human voices. But the ocean? It was silent. Too silent. There was no blood, no torn clothing drifting in the shallows, no floating debris, just the slow pull of the tide, carrying away anything that might tell the story. Boats were launched. Searchlights scanned the black water. The glare caught the glitter of tiny fish, the curve of a wave, but nothing more. By midnight, reality had begun to sink in. A crocodile somewhere out there had taken Cindy, and if it had gone into the mangroves, it could already be miles away. When dawn broke over Thornton Beach, the search widened. Helicopters skimmed low over the rainforest fringe. Aerial crews traced the mouth of Cooper Creek, eyes scanning for movement. On the ground, wildlife officers waded into the muddy mangrove channels, their boots sinking into the silt. They carried long poles, their eyes flicking between the shadowed water and the tangled roots that hid it. In Queensland, this was familiar work but no less dangerous. Saltwater crocodiles are masters of patience. They can wait, perfectly still, for hours, days, hidden in water barely deep enough to cover their backs. The searchers knew the signs to look for. Esun ribble. A log that wasn't there yesterday. A pair of unblinking eyes just breaking the surface. For 2 days, they found nothing. And then, the decision was made. If the crocodile had stayed near the scene, a baited trap might draw it out. The trap was set in Cooper Creek, just a few kilometers from where Cindy vanished. A floating metal cage, fitted with a chunk of fresh meat, moored in the still water. They didn't have to wait long. Within hours, a massive shadow moved in. A crocodile, heavy, deliberate, ancient, glided silently toward the bait. It was enormous, 4.3 meters from snout to tail. A male. The steel door clanged shut behind it. The predator had been caught. But the question still hung heavy over the search team. Was this the crocodile? Or was the one they truly sought still out there? When the trap was hauled to shore, the crocodile barely moved. Its yellow eyes blinked slowly, its armored body gleaming wet under the morning sun. Wildlife officers worked in practiced silence. They had done this before, but every time, there was a weight to it. Because in situations like this, the next step was inevitable. Under Queensland law, a crocodile confirmed to have killed a human is destroyed. The shot was quick, clinical, final. When rangers cut the animal open, their worst fears were confirmed. Inside its stomach, they found what they had been searching for. Fragments, remains, all that was left of Cindy Waldron. There would be no full recovery, no body to bring home to her family. Just pieces, swallowed by a predator that had slipped back into the mangroves as if nothing had happened. The confirmation ended the search, but it did not end the pain. For Leanne Mitchell, the only witness, the woman who had tried to hold on the trauma would never truly fade. She had come to the Daintree to celebrate life after cancer. Instead, she left with a memory carved into her mind forever. The flash of movement, the scream, the moment Cindy's hand slipped from hers. Cindy's family received the news with quiet devastation. Her father told reporters, "She didn't deserve this, but we don't blame the animal." They remembered her for how she lived, not how she died, a spirited, adventurous soul who loved the wild. But beyond the grief, a storm was brewing. News of the attack swept across Australia. Headlines screamed, "Tourist taken by croc." In talkback radio booths and editorial pages, one question rose above the rest. Could this have been prevented? Some locals argued that crocodiles had become too numerous, too bold. They called for widespread culling in tourist areas. Others pushed back, saying the land and the water belonged to the crocodiles long before it belonged to people. They argued it was not the predators who had changed, but us. We had stepped too close. The Queensland government stood by its policies: clear signage, regular monitoring, and targeted removal only when necessary. But critics said signs weren't enough. How many tourists, they asked, walk past those yellow boards without really reading them, without truly understanding that the danger is real? In Far North Queensland, the debate split communities. But for Cindy's family and friends, the arguments didn't matter. The loss was already written. And nothing, no law, no policy, no trap could bring her back. The Daintree is one of the oldest living ecosystems on Earth. Its forests have stood for more than 180 million years. Its rivers and creeks have carved the same paths for millennia. And in those waters, the saltwater crocodile has remained unchanged, a perfect predator from another age. They are survivors of deep time. When the dinosaurs vanished, crocodiles endured. When continents shifted, they adapted. They've lived through ice ages, mass extinctions, and the rise and fall of civilizations. They are still here, because they are flawless at what they do. They do not hunt from hunger alone. They hunt because instinct demands it. They strike without warning, and they win almost every time. The truth is, there is no safe way to share water with a saltwater crocodile. Not at night. Not in the shallows. Not when the beach looks calm and empty. And yet, to those who live alongside them, these predators are part of the natural order, as much a part of Queensland as the reef, the rainforest, and the endless horizon. That's the balance. It's not about taming the wild. It's about respecting it, understanding that beauty can be dangerous, and that every paradise carries its own risks. For tourists, the lesson is simple. The warning signs are not decoration. They are the thin line between wonder and tragedy. For Cindy Waldron, the ocean that night was meant to be a place of celebration, of friendship, of survival, of living fully again. But nature does not bend to human intent. It does not care why you've come or what you've overcome. On that quiet May night, under a sky strewn with stars, the wild made its decision, and it did not wait for permission. Today, the waters at Thornton Beach still sparkle in the sun. Children still run barefoot across the sand. Travelers still stand at the edge, drawn forward by beauty and curiosity. But somewhere in the mangroves, unseen, the ocean still remembers. And the wild is still watching.